is when you get diagnosed with a disability, the doctors tell you how it's going to be physically, but no one tells you what it's going to be like to deal with the emotional side, what it's going to be like to deal with how society treats you, and how to actually learn how to advocate for yourself. Hi, I'm Charlie. I'm a life coach and a speaker and a musician. I travel around the country speaking about my disability and other people's disabilities. Most people wouldn't recognize it because I can look directly into their eyes, but I actually have something called retinitis pigmentosa, and it causes me to lose my peripheral vision over time. It's kind of like looking through a straw. A lot of times when I actually show up and I'm with a community for the first time, my job is just to break the barrier and to share my story so that they can understand what it's like to live with a disabled body or what it's like to be disabled, and give them a perspective that they may not have thought about before. Oftentimes, the first 3 words anybody says when you tell them you have a disability is, "I'm so sorry." And those are oftentimes the wrong words to say because it's built on an assumption that having a disability is a bad thing. Because so many people want to be an ally, they want to know the right things to do, they just don't know what to do. And then oftentimes they'll do something wrong or get into a situation where they might make someone upset who's disabled, and there's a bunch of confusion on both sides. For me, I'm just trying to bridge those gaps and create it so that there can be a little bit more inclusion, just kind of make things flow a little bit easier. Because at the end of the day, at least speaking from my standpoint, disabled people, they want to be treated like everyone else. Just because they have a disability doesn't mean they live a worse life than anybody else. And really what I'm trying to do is just to share that. And I do that in 2 ways. I do it through speaking, through teaching, through different conversations, and I also do it through sharing my music. Music is this great language. It's like the language that everyone can speak and understand. So I've written music about my journey, about what I've gone through, and it's another way for me to connect with people, to teach them about actual ways that disabled people truly want to be treated. In some of the workshops, one of the main things that I do is I just have a breakdown of what disability is, what it isn't, and then also talk a little bit about what ableism is. Ableism is basically the discrimination or prejudice against anyone who has a disability based on the belief that someone with a disability is inferior to someone who doesn't have a disability. Really, my whole purpose is just to give people an understanding of how they can combat it, starting with themselves. Because I think so often we think about how can we take it to like a political level or all these different pieces. My passion is how can you change the way that you think about it, and how can you change the people around you just by the way that you act and the way that you interact with disabled people. Regardless of whether or not it's about blindness or someone being deaf, a lot of the experiences that we go through with society are the same. A lot of times there's this fear, and it's not a fear of disabled people, it's a fear of not knowing what to do. So what I want the transformation to be is walking in with this fear of like, I don't know what to do if I'm in that situation with a disabled person. I'm afraid I'm gonna mess up, easing that pressure and just going, here's some things that you can do. It's less of a transformation, it's more of just a comfort, like a deep breath off your shoulders, like, I know what to do now.